welcome to Mischief Maker. This is episode 1 of my very first podcast or video blog, whatever you want to call it. I'm so excited to be doing this. I wanted to do this for a long time. I have a blog, but I'm not very good at keeping it up, so this is kind of a way to record my crafting journey and maybe share some tutorials and tips. But first, who am I? So my name's Jade Prosser. On Instagram, you can find me as Stitch Mischief. On Ravelry, I am also Stitch Mischief. I'll put it on the bottom when I'm editing. And I've also just opened up a Ravelry group called Mischief Maker Podcast. So there's a hello thread in there. I'd love it if you could come over and say hi, introduce yourself, tell me where you're from. What would you like to see on my podcast? So, a tiny bit about me. I'm a knitter. I've been knitting since my early childhood, I'd say, maybe around 8, I'm not sure, around there. I crochet, I sew, I quilt. I'm a stay-at-home mom to 4 children, and I homeschool, so it's a little bit of everything. This is where I want to be. This is my home. Love it. So you're currently seeing me in my crafting zone. This is my wall of zippers. I make a lot of pouches with zippers. Yeah, so I'm hoping to cover a bunch of different genres in this podcast. But yeah, I hope you have fun. So pull up a chair, grab a cup of tea. I have mine, steeping right now. It's my new favorite tea. I'm on Whole30 right now, so I can't have anything with sugar or honey. But this one tastes like it's sweet, even though it's not any sugar in it. There's not, rather. It's the Good Earth, sweet and spicy. Super yummy. Anyways, yeah, okay. So let's just go get right into it. I have some finished objects. Now they're not going to be all knitting. They're going to be possibly finished projects, finished bags, finished knitting. So this week I finished, my friend had asked me to make a bag for her, and she is a quilter, and she quilted these panels up, and they are beautiful. So she made the patchwork and the linen. She just asked me what measurements to make it to. So then she gave me the fabric, and I got my lining. And she had these beautiful zippers that look, I can't know if you can tell they look metal, but they're actually nylon, so they sew pretty easy. Yeah, so I finished this for her. This is the patchwork twiggy size, maybe just a tiny bit bigger than my classic one that I sell in my shop, because there's actually more patchwork per bag in this one. It's a different size where they're 1.5 inch finished squares. So yeah, I love it. Turned out beautiful. She hasn't even seen it in person yet. She's away camping. So there you go, Tanya. You're on my podcast. Bing. I love making this for you. It was also my first time sewing with leather. I've never done leather before, but look, it was actually pretty easy. The only thing is you have to get it right the first time because you can't make unwhole leather. So you can note to self. Okay. I didn't want to dawdle too much in the introduction because I'm going to cover more about my knitting crafting journey in my question and answer segment a little bit later. So I also have a finished object. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen this, so I apologize. But it is this large, I'm going to cover myself, large, gorgeous shawl called Baubles by Andrea Mowry, and it just keeps going. It's beautiful. I love it so much. And there it is. And the baubles, part of the name, comes from these little baubles, which are not showing up well. There you go. So this is one of my recent finished objects. So I wanted to talk a little bit about whips. So recently I've had a little chat with myself about my somewhat astronomical amount of whips, and it was so bad I didn't even know how many whips I have had. And if you've been following me on Instagram, you know I've been being very accountable to you, to everybody, to make sure that I kind of just tackle it, because as fun as knitting is, and I see a child appearing, and it is fun. I love knitting. I love casting on. There's nothing like a new project, a new cast on, a new set of needles, all of it. It's all good. But when you're up in the double digits of whips, it tends to weigh on you, like kind of a guilt, but you mostly just want to be done so you can clear up that space in your head and clear it up, move on to your next thing guilt-free. So I counted up my whips recently, and that was after some pretty hardcore whip finishing since January. So despite the gazillion shawls and a sweater, I think I finished since January, I had 34 whips. 34. That's astronomical to me. That is not, maybe this is normal in the knitting world, but I kind of maybe want to bring that number down a little to a more balanced number. So I've been logging them on Instagram in my little, and you can find them back in my stories in the little highlight thing at the top, the Whip It Good reel. So this is my theory behind whips. You won't see as many new things on my needles at the moment because I'm currently literally powering through my whips. I am whipping out socks like I've never knit socks in my life, just to get them off the needle, so I have room for more new fun patterns that are coming. And I tell you, this year there are so many good patterns. I want to knit them all. I really do. And I can't wait till I can do it a little bit more guilt-free. So here are some of my whips. So I'm going to keep my socks separate. I have another category because that's a whole different addiction for me, is sock knitting. It's so fun. I never thought I would knit socks, and now I knit them like in my sleep practically. All right, so one of the whips that I have is my Veronika, and I'm not very far on this at all, but because I haven't been working on it. Yeah, so this is as far as I've gotten. I'd like to finish it. Currently, it's ridiculously hot. It's about 30 degrees Celsius. It feels like 35 in here. I'm literally sweating bullets doing this. But, oh, I'm dropping stitches. Fun. Just pick those up. It will be so nice when it's done. It's like a nice oversized, kind of like a sweater poncho-y jacket thing by Very Shannon. And I've knitted out of this nice yarn by Cascade 220, Cascade. I'll make the name on the bottom. Sorry, I can't remember because I'm sweating so hard. All right, and also it's sitting in the original, well, almost the original Finch Bucket. And there goes my, one sec. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, so I think I'm through the phone falling over thing. So, okay, so I don't even know what I was saying. Oh, this is the second prototype for my Finch Bucket. It's the one that you've seen online if you follow me on Instagram, that has my little Atticus in it. It's big enough. He could fit in it at one. And yeah, it's pretty huge. I have my sweater and all my yarn barf, a skein, another skein, part of a skein, my yarn barf, that's disgusting, sorry, and my pattern all together. That's my daughter watching, sorry. And yeah, it's a pretty big bag. So this is mine. I really need to switch these ties out with rope, but I haven't yet. So there we go. So that's one whip. And the reason I showed you my other Baubles shawl is I will let you know the names of my, this yarn is yarn that I dyed, and it's Orcas Island is the mint, Doubloon is this mustardy kind of yellow gold. And Pacific is the navy. I just love it. Love, love, love. And it's on my Decadent fingering base, which is a low micron yarn base, and it's just so squishy. I can't get over it. It's very drapey, it's smooth, it's soft. I literally, if I can't smush it to my face, I'm not going to knit with it ever. So face smushy is a requirement. So when I was dyeing up those colors, I had 2 ideas. Actually, I had 3 ideas, but the third one is another podcast sometime. So this one is my second idea. So this is another whip. This is also Baubles by Andrea and Mowry. So I wanted to do a sort of candy apple red. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Candy apple red, and you can't tell that the creamy contrast there is a speckle, but it is. So this is it. A speckle. Yeah. And a mint. Because these are some of my favorite colors to knit with, to sew with. I haven't really knit with it actually yet much, but to sew with for sure. Mint and cream and red, they're all my favorites. It's reading in the camera as a bit more orangey red, where it's a bit more blue in person. But yeah, it's beautiful. So I can't wait to see where this goes. This is such a tiny whip, but it's one of my newer ones, so I was focusing on the old ones first. So that's another whip that I'll be working on. Hopefully I can show you more progress next week. I'm getting more used to talking to my phone. This is bizarre. It's so cool. I can't believe this is happening. I have a podcast. Crazy talk. Okay, another whip. All right, this bad boy is my granny stripe blanket. And it's pretty big, I guess, but it's not anywhere near done. So working on that. I have a giant, literally giant bucket of yarn. Okay, so this is you saw this pouch here. That's my Anna Maria Horner patchwork twiggy that I made for myself. It's my baby. So I made myself a matching Finch Bucket. That's also Anna Maria Horner. And it's so lovely. I love patchwork. It's so cozy. Okay. I have a ton of yarn in here. Like a ton. I could just keep going. I'm pulling yarn out of here. There's a million skeins in here. It's chock full. Look, all the way to the bottom. Chock full. So those are scraps and bits and leftover yarn from socks and things that dye skeins that kind of not so good. Oh, I dye yarn. I forgot to mention that. I knit, I dye, I sew. It's all good. It's all good. And okay, one more whip because you'll see less of hopefully you'll see more FOs as time goes by, but one more whip because it's my oldest whip. So funny thing about knitting is when you knit and you don't know things, you do hard things because you think that's just what you do and it's normal. So these are mitts I made. I think I started them when my daughter was a baby. And I have my finger twisted here. Okay, so they are entrelac mitts and twisted. So we're talking maybe 9, 10 years old. Let me see. Yeah. Okay, so when I had my little chat with myself about whips, I casted on my second one. So when I originally knit these, I knit them in double pointed needles, and I do not double point anything anymore unless it's absolutely dye or it's like a thumb, and even then I'll magic loop. So they're double pointed originally, but now they're magic loop. So I cast it on and tangled and then tangled some more. There we go. And I have my little cuff going, and that's good TV knitting. And then theoretically the entrelac shouldn't take super long once I remind myself of how to do it. That would be good. Yeah, so that's in the works. And check out this bag that it's in. The yarn for that is, I don't even know this particular, it's just called by Marks and Caddens, Fame Round. You see that? Yeah. And that is, nope. This is all that's left of it. Plus my little scrap ball you just saw a second ago. So I rewound it because it was turning into a big yarn barf ball, which is not very attractive and also really not fun to knit from. Oops. And yeah, so fun. So those are my whips. So that's my Whip It Good section. I'm hoping to make progress on them so that I can show you. And I tell you, having this motivation of having a finished object or a much further along whip next week is very motivational to me. So, which brings me to socks. Now, I love sock knitting, like a lot. I have tons and tons of socks. One day I'll share my box of socks with you, but it's very therapeutic. It's super easy. It's super portable. You can fit it in your bag like no problem. So yeah, so let's talk sock whips. So currently, I recently just finished, where are you? There. Okay, so these are my socks that I was given the pleasure of test knitting for Tracie, and she is Tracie Miller from the Grocery Girls Knits, and she's just Tracie, I think, online. Yeah, so I knit them in Shine. So this color here is Shine. Let's see if we can get out of the shadows here. And then this color I'm calling Bellini. Somebody on Instagram came up with this name, and it's one of my favorite drinks at one of our restaurants in Canada called Milestones. And it looks literally exactly like this, and so yummy and icy and delicious. And yeah, so this was a super, super fast knit. I think I knit it in a day, 2 days. I don't know, but it has delicious texture here. Like, look at that. So good. If I stop frowning at the camera. Okay, so that was one recent finish in my sock department. And let's see here. Okay, so I have to cast on still my second one. But I am currently, recently I just finished up, if you follow me on Instagram, you have seen these pop up here and there. Recently I just finished up this sock, and it's mustache yarn in the colorway Be Mine, which I just love. When I saw this, these colors, they are so my jam. They're happy and rainbowy and just yummy to knit, and you keep thinking, I'm just gonna knit one more stripe, just what to the next stripe, and then you're like, oh, I've knit a whole sock. So that's always fun. So then yesterday I was kind of feeling a little poorly, so I stayed in bed and I knit in my air-conditioned bedroom because it is scorching hot right now. And I knit and knit, and now I'm on my heel, which I'm hoping to finish while I'm chatting with you a bit on my introduction section, my little bit of history. So, okay, so these are my socks. I also, so this is a whip. It'll be a finished object next week for sure. And my second coffee talks, I would like to finish them up soon. And I'm currently casting on my second sock for my Love is Battlefield colorway. Oh, here's my first sock. So, what? So you may notice I like color, like a lot. So this is Love is a Battlefield, just knit vanilla sock. I believe I use How I Knit My Socks by Susan B. Anderson. I like a heel flap here, little heel flap, and gusset. And yeah, they're pretty speedy socks. Although now that I'm looking at it, I wonder if, I have a suspicion I knit this in a 2.25. For a while there, many sock patterns are 2.25 needles are the recommended needle. And I don't particularly like the weight or they're a bit stretchy on me. They're a bit loose. And I don't really like a loosey-goosey sock or like a negative ease in my sock. And I like it to be a nice, firm, do you see the tension there? It's a bit more tight. So that's how I like my socks to be. So, and this one, it's not great. I don't know if I was just tired when I was knitting it. It's okay, but it's not great. But I will be happy with them, and they will be warm, and they are colorful. And at some point, my daughter's going to have feet the same feet as mine. And she's very close to that. She's coming up there now. And I'll be able to share all my socks with her. So that'll be fun. So I'm casting on my second one because I swear that's half the battle for second sock syndrome. Cast on. It's that once you get past that, it seems to be so much easier. And I'm trying to remember not to look at my camera screen, but my phone screen, but my little tiny chat. So I don't look like I'm talking off to Never Never Land. So that is Sock It to Me. And I hope other sock knitter addicts like me will enjoy the segment. And I have so many sock yarns I haven't even touched yet that I would love to cast on, but I am making myself work my way through my whips and get it down to a more manageable amount. And I hear my baby. So I think I have my whip count down to currently 24. I have 24 whips on my list. So what else is on the schedule today? I'm thinking about doing a little segment called On My Table. So this is more of a sewing-ish related thing. And let's see. So I haven't been able to sew too much because it is absolutely disgusting weather right now. I'm not a winter. I like summer. I like sun. I like light. I prefer cool weather and like green grass and not yellow straw. I really can't wait for it to just be Wednesday and cool down. So today we are at the end of July. No, we're not. Yes, we are. Yes. I know my calendar. I promise. So what's on my table are a ton of bags. So these are bags. Some of these I cut out years ago because once upon a time I was scheduled to be a vendor at Knit City, and then a lot of things happened in my life and it didn't pan out and I had to cancel. So I'd already cut out a ton of bags and I just put them away because they reminded me of some bad things. But now they don't. Now they're just beautiful bags. So I use, for these types of bags, so they look like this, but once they're made, they look totally different. And I use my tutorial called Another Approach to the Open Wide Pouch. And so the panels, the bags are made in panels. So this is like the top of the bag, the bottom contrast. And then on the inside is this is a separate panel. It's the lining. It's like a fun geometric. But yeah, so that's what's on my table right now. That's all I've been able to do because it's just too hot. But I really need to get cracking because Knit City is only a little over 8 weeks away and I could throw up. I'm so stressed. But I'm finally getting to go to Knit City this year and be a vendor, and I've wanted to do this so bad. And now that I dye yarn, it's even more fun because I can balance out my booth and have bags and pouches and notions pouches and yarn and color and rainbow, and I can't wait for Knit City. I don't know who's with me. Knit City, it's a big deal. So these are some of the things I'll be bringing to Knit City. So these are like, they're called the wee bra bag. So this is the wee bra bag, the little one. And I made a mistake when I was making them. I thought I was making the regular size. So where's my regular one? Here. So I thought I was making the regular size. So here's the regular size. And this is what it does. I love that. So that's the regular size. Here's the wee size. So quite a difference. Still handy for purses and sock projects and stuff. but not what I was intending to make. And because I did that, I had to make all my bags be redivided with the fabric so that there's not so much interlacing and stuff. So I have a big old stack of those to come to Knit City. So Knit City bags that I've been prepped of those. So yay for sorry. I can work my phone, I promise. All right. Okay. And this is my patchwork twiggy bag. So I'll have lots of these. Hopefully, if I get my act together and the weather cools off just a little, because standing or sitting by an iron sewing is hot work. And I wish we had air conditioning, but I don't. I'm tempted to move into my bedroom where there's air conditioning. So that's a twiggy pouch. My lovely polka dot lining, because I love polka dots. And yeah, so I'll have some of those. And more little wee bras. And a couple of these are actually in the shop, so the exact ones won't actually be at Knit City if anyone buys them. So this is one of the ones in the shop. It's a viewfinder fabric. And just some fun floral on the inside. There you go. But yeah, and then I'm also planning on bringing my Finch Bucket bags, which I also sell the pattern for in my shop, but they are so big and so fun. So this is an empty one. Like, I could put it on my head. It's like so big. I won't put it on my head, but I could. It's just ginormous. And then it has this cool, it's a Robert Kaufman Essex yarn dyed stripe. And it's just so beautiful and nautical, hence the nautical canvas I tied it with. I love it. So that's what's on my table. And before I go today, I asked my followers on Instagram if they wanted to do some questions for me for my first question and answer, because I told them I was filming today, therefore I had to film today. And I'm so nervous. But okay, so I have 3 that I wanted to address today. So one was by Tracie from the Grocery Girls. She asked to know more about my crafting journey and history. And I'll try to make it like the cliff notes of my crafting journey, because it started when I was young and I am not so young anymore. So there we are. But yeah, so it goes back to having an extremely talented mom. And she, all my life, has knit or sewn. She's a seamstress. She can sew wedding dresses, like gorgeous stuff. My sewing will never touch what she can do. That said, I don't want to make a wedding dress. We're just into different types of sewing. But so she's always crafted and knit and crocheted and stitched, embroidery, art, you name it. She did it all. So all my life I was surrounded by craftiness and crafty people, and it just gave me a real appreciation for making things with your hands and going all the way with something, to see when it was just yarn to making it I remember sweaters she made me that had beautiful details and little beads and colors, and they were just so fun. So sorry about that. So I remember one of the first times my mom tried to teach both me and my older brother Ashton to knit, and I remember she got Ashton going. He was knitting and I was 3 years younger, and I remember I couldn't do it. I don't learn well from people teaching me physically how to do something. I learn better from books. Anyways, so I remember that day she moved from knitting to crochet. Couldn't get it. Embroidery. Couldn't get it. By the end of the day, I was coloring, which was my jam. That was fine. But eventually, yeah, I learned how to knit. Okay, so I come from a long line of knitters, and my great-grandparents both knit, and they were from Norway, both of them. And they were really, really good knitters. They had great tension, from as the stories go. So it was my great-grandma Amanda who taught me how to cast on, and that stuck. So I didn't really start knitting kind of off and on. I mostly liked to crochet when I was little. And then off and on, I knit through my teens. I did a lot of sewing in my teens from home ec, and from my mom I learned how to sew my own clothes, my dresses, that kind of thing. Not a ton, but a good amount. Part of my door. And yeah, so sewing and knitting, and then I got married, and then I was kind of a little bit lost creatively for the first, I'd say, 3 years of my marriage. I kind of just focused on that part of my life. And sorry, here's someone. Oh, okay. So that was what I focused on in that part. And when I got pregnant, it was like the creative doors opened for me again, and it was everything. I wanted to do it all. I wanted to quilt. I wanted to knit. I had a friend who quilted, and she introduced me to fabric shopping, which is an extremely addictive thing to do. I still hadn't learned at that point about good fabric. I am quite unabashedly a fabric and yarn snob now. I will not buy crappy cotton fabric, and I will not buy acrylic yarn if it isn't absolutely necessary. I just prefer wool. I like the, I just love the good stuff. And if it's gonna be knit, if you're gonna spend hours and hours and hours making something, then use the good stuff, because it will last and it'll be worth it. And it feels better. But anyways, so yeah, so when I was pregnant, I started crocheting tons and tons of blankets. I only knit dash a small little baby blanket. But by the second child, my daughter Skylar, I knit for her, and I started quilting more. So I quilted for both of my kids. But I have my first quilt. I wanted to show you this because I'm just absolutely insane. And this is before I really used the internet. So this is like 2005 when I started this quilt. A thought for my child. I didn't know it was a boy. So yeah, so my first quilt was a Lone Star because I didn't know it was supposed to be hard, and I figured it out. So I have a Lone Star quilt from then, and I gave it to my baby girl when I had her. So Lone Star, that was quite the learning curve. So then I knit for my daughter when I was pregnant with her. And this is where you need to learn about gauge, because I didn't know about gauge really. I was just kind of a budding knitter in terms of pattern following and not just knitting and stuff. So I knit her a vintage baby shawl. It's the size of a house. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. It's so big. So big. I think I knit in the wrong size yarn. I think it's supposed to be lace, and I believe I used something like a Sport from Sirdar. But this is the, this is the lace pattern here. It's beautiful. So that was my first encounter with one of my very favorite yarn stores ever, 88 Stitches. My goodness, this is hot. Ooh, 88 Stitches. I ran out of yarn and called them, and they had it. And my husband went and picked it up, and that was our first encounter with Sue, who I adore. And she will forever be one of my very favorite people who own yarn stores. She's amazing. So yeah, so that was her little baby shawl. I'm telling you, it's the size of a throat. It's a very large blanket. And I think I have a picture of me knitting it when I was waiting for my C-section, because she was a breech baby. So I was sitting in the hospital waiting for my thing to stop getting bumped into the afternoon. So that brings me to my kids and my third child. That's when things really changed, and I bought my proper sewing machine. Prior to this, I had been only using a Kenmore from Sears, a very plastic and light sewing machine, and then I got this, and it's pardon all the bobbins on it, sorry. It's an Elna. It's Quilting Queen. I think I got it on sale, like half off, at a quilting store out in the Fraser Valley, and it was a floor model, so half off floor model, because it was expensive and I wanted to make sure I would use it very well before I got something like this. So anyways, I love it. She's gone a long distance with me, great for making bags and for quilting and free motion. Yeah, so that's kind of, once I hit about, it was 2013, I started getting pretty intense in the crafting department. And then I remember Sue from 88 Stitches had been following me on Instagram, like follow each other, and she saw me making zipper pouches and zipper bags and was like, I think you could make some for a shop. So I started sewing for her shop, and that was really good. It lasted a little while, like a couple of years or a year. I can't remember exactly when I stopped, but eventually I kind of entered a sort of, some things came up in my life that were kind of not a great time for me, and I ended up having to stop wholesaling bags. But I still make them and love them. I pop them in my shop now, but I'll be forever grateful to Sue for encouraging me along and for being so kind about it. So I make bags, like tons and tons of bags, hence my wall of zippers, which I store this way on little hooks. And I hear somebody crying, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up pretty quick. So yeah, so that's where I'm at now. I make bags. Oh, yarn dyeing. I started yarn dyeing in 2016 around our anniversary. My husband, I had been researching it, and I'm telling you, even back then, especially back then, there was really very little information on how to dye yarn properly, how to mix colors, there still is very, very little information about it. And I'm super grateful to people like Nicole at Hue Loco. She did amazing, I think 3 or 4 piece tutorials on how to get going in the yarn dyeing procedure, like how to actually dye yarn and different types of yarn dyeing. And it's taken me a long time to get into my groove and to settle into how to be confident in mixing colors into what you want, or to be able to take a picture of something and say, I want that color, and to figure out how to mix it, which is quite fun. So yarn dyeing. So my husband gave me an anniversary gift for our 14th year of marriage, and he gave me $500, and that was my nest egg for beginning to dye yarn. So I had to get everything I needed, dye, bare yarn, pots and utensils and everything to set up first to see if I'm any good at it, or if I could maybe become good at it at some point. I'm still not there. It's a growth. I'm a whip, people. I am hands down a whip. But so it started, and I've taken that money, and I just keep rolling it back into the business, and it's doing good. I'm so happy that it's working out, and it gives me a little outlet that's not knitting sometimes, like to play with color, because really it all boils down to color. Color is everything. Color is why I do quilting. Color is why I do knitting. It's why I dye. It's why I wear clothes, other than modesty. I love color. So anyways, I'm sorry for rambling. I didn't mean for that to take so long. So that was kind of my crafting journey. And in a sort of giant nutshell, someone else asked, this was Erica from the Knittery Duo on Instagram, and she asked, why and how did I learn how to knit? So you know how I learned how to knit. Why? It's therapy. It's absolutely, I don't know if I knew that when I learned how to knit, and it became more so when you're more relaxed in your knitting and you can kind of set back into it, but it's definitely therapy, and it's soothing, and I absolutely hate not doing something. So if I'm watching TV, I'm knitting. If I'm sitting, I'm knitting. If I'm on a bus, in a car, and I'm not driving, I'm knitting. If I absolutely can, I'm knitting. So that's why I knit. And then somebody else asked, I believe it was for Mom Crochet, Tanya asked if I have any new upcoming inspiration for yarn dyes. And for me, it will always be rainbow forever and ever. So rainbow, I want to make my Knit City booth as rainbowy as possible. Sunshine, sunshine and rainbows. That is my goal. I love color. So I just want it to feel like home. And if you happen to be able to come to Knit City, please come see my booth. I hope to make it as homey and comfortable and colorful as possible. So anyways, I gotta wrap this up because babies and children and hungry people. I am so excited. I can't believe I just filmed my first podcast. Okay, sorry. So again, you can find me on Instagram, Stitch Mischief. If you have not turned me off 5 hours ago, I would love it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel or my podcast. It would be so exciting. I know I'm just a baby podcaster and I know absolutely nothing. I'm still learning so much, but I would love to share this journey with you. So thank you, and I will be back next week. Thanks.